Welcome to Zero Hit Points, everybody. It is April 3rd. I'm Ryan Miller. Yawn. It's Matt Amberg.
Yawn Solo.
Disappointing. You're dead.
Well, I don't know if you said I'm dead or I'm disappointing my dad, but both are true. And you are really, really pushing it today already.
We're opening up fast and furious here.
Hey, this is not the movie podcast, and I did not watch any of those movies.
We should do a movie podcast.
That's a good idea.
Man.
What is this show about?
Video games? Technically, if you think about it, because we play some during the week. Things happen in the industry during the week, and we need to take time to unpack it all.
We're not huge fans of being packed in. Like we don't like being boxed. You never pack.
As you can tell by that long and winding intro.
Yeah, never pack baby into a corner.
Whoa! Again, that's the movies. Use a line from a game.
Sorry.
At least.
Okay. Here.
Pretend like we play them.
All right.
That's what this first half is about.
Okay. Here we go. Line from a game. This is.
Okay.
I got this. This is all gonna fit.
All right.
Waka 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 waka.
I think that's Fozzie Bear from the Muppets. Oh,
no, that's Waka Waka. You jerk.
You're right. That's
Jeez.
good. All right, we did it. Successful segue into games.
That's me, a video game mascot. Hey, video games this week. Let me tell you, I played video games. I did it.
Alternate title for the podcast, actually. Did you know that? Hey, video games this week. Let me tell you, with Matt and Ryan.
I think that's a good title. Better than this one.
Not bad, actually.
Yeah. Might get more hits on some form, iTunes or whatever. I did. I played.
Please. Sorry.
I played many video games this week, including 3 of them. Only 3 of them.
I was gonna say I don't even believe that for half a second.
Yeah, it's true. I only did 3, but I did 3.
3 is a lot, though. Actually, you know what? I'm sorry.
It's cool. It's
3 is a lot.
It's a number between 1 and 5. And
it's 3 times as many as normal, honestly.
That's true for the past few weeks. All right, so kicking it off, I picked up Far Cry 5 because I just felt like I hadn't played a Ubisoft game for a while, and we love Ubisoft.com. So I picked up Far Cry 5.
I wonder if that's still a site now that Vivendi's takeover thing is not a thing anymore.
It should never, ever go away. If they ever take that site down, I will boycott them, and I will boycott them.
Like, now that we're not under threat of hostile takeover, we're taking down WeLoveUbisoft.com.
We don't. Far Cry 5 is a video game wherein you, as a deputy, are brought to a small county in Montana called, wait for it, Hope County.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Where a religious cult has taken foothold and is looking to cleanse the world. See, Now here's the thing. This whole cult thing is kind of an interesting thing. I'm into cults. I like the cult aspect.
I was going to say, you're a cult dude.
I'm a cult guy. I'm a culty. I'm a cultist, you could say.
Movies, suicides,
all of it.
Is where it's at.
If there's an altar involved, I'm in. You know, if there's a possibility of raising some creature, I'm there.
Oh, even better.
Yeah.
Icing on the cake.
Yeah, for sure. None of that here. This is they do some. I'm about a quarter of the way through the game. If we're going based on the zones and how they kind of open up, and then fighting the last guy, who I assume will be his own little thing. So there are the 3 major zones, which are the essentially the lieutenants of the cult leader, and their brothers. That 2 of them are his brothers, and then his quote unquote sister is just some rando that was a heroin user that he then gave this drug to or something, and she's now like clean and weird and everything's great. But they have this whole section in story where there are regular cultists that are just like, you have those guys, but then you also have this like whole other section of like zombie people that they call angels. And all of this revolves around this cult leader who figured out that if he uses like baptism style, going into the lake and dunking their heads in the water, but they dump this like chemical in the water that makes people like it. I don't know what it's supposed to do, because they do it to you really soon into the game. And this is one of these weird things about any, I just, it's a trope that I kind of hate in everything, especially now, because it's been so overused. The bad guy catches you and then leaves you alone so you can get away and go live to fight another day. And then
it's becoming hard to handle that in a successful manner nowadays, I think.
So in the first section, this happens 2 times where you're caught by the guy. And the first time you're caught and you're baptized, and you get saved by some randos. And then the second time you're caught, you're taken into the place where the first guy's jobs is to tattoo your sin. He defines and decides and figures out what your sin is. Then he tattoos it on you somewhere, and then they cut it off after you've you're willing to accept it, and then you become part of the cult.
Okay.
It's not as complicated as it sounds, but it's fine. Whatever.
I've actually heard this. I've heard you get caught every area, in fact.
Yeah, which it's for the amount of cultists that I have personally murdered, I don't know why you'd keep me alive. I have decimated an entire region. Hundreds of your followers you've lost so many planes and so many helicopters. It's not an infinite spawn, is it, dude? No, but
which I'm taking to mean that you're losing the battle, as often happens. Go back and listen to our Far Cry 5
Cry.
Or when you sorry.
That's what they should have called it. That's what they should have called it. They should have called this 5 Cry.
Far Cry 4 coverage, where you played that, and it was this constant back and forth of, I'm trying to do the main story, but all these side missions. So if you've killed this many people, I'm guessing the side missions are winning a little bit here and there.
A little bit. I am pushing further on the story because I recognize that, and I realized a few days back actually where I have a hard time finishing those games because I do get sidetracked because they're fun, and then I get burned out because I've been doing it.
And this is a good problem to have. We should say
just I get burned out on doing it, and then going back to that game, knowing how much further I have to go to complete the story itself is always this daunting task where I'm like, I don't want to. But this one I do want to finish because I'm super interested in how this story turns out. So far, it's not as driven as I was hoping it would be. It's not as steeped in... I guess I thought there was going to be deeper overtones to this because of the content, because of the current timeline and in real life and what they were clearly aiming for here. And it's so far they get right up to the edge of we're gonna say something, we're gonna take a stand, we're gonna make a point here, and then they just kind of slowly back away from it. And it's happened a couple times with the dialogue where you're like, okay, they're gonna go and they're gonna get to you're gonna get that real world clicking connection, and I can see what they're doing with it, but it's also similar to I can see what they're doing with it, but it's just not. They're just not getting over that hump. There's not, and I don't know if it will. I don't know. I'm still playing along because they're getting there. There's lots of really strong overtones regarding religious fanaticism and fanaticism in general, and following anybody. And you can very much see the kind of where they're drawing a line, with who they're talking about here. But they're right. Again, I think that they're pussyfooting around the...
They're certainly not taking a stance or saying anything. This is the other thing I've heard for sure.
Because if they do, they're going to alienate people that will spend money on their game. And
AAA games ain't about alienating.
No. And that's the hard thing about ever trying to take a stand with something like the kind of fanaticism that we do see right now with this is very much so a cult of personality situation, and it's very much what we're seeing politically right now, more so than we have maybe in the last couple years, whatever. But it's been there, but not to this level, not to this extreme.
Yeah, and not to draw a 1-to-1 or anything. That's not.
No, I'm 100% drawing a 1-to-1. There is no difference. This video game is catharsis. but
if only the game actually thought that.
Yeah,
I think is what you're saying though.
Well, it's
or the developers, I guess, or Ubisoft, I guess. I don't know.
It's the overall with it is story wise. Like I will say that as far as I am into it, a lot of the characters are really well written. They're well rounded. The dialogue is really good. It's the there's no shortage, and there's no shortage of it. Let's put it that way. A lot of it can be dialogue heavy, where you have to listen to somebody drone on for a little bit to get if they know where there's a prepper stash, and prepper stashes are pretty much exactly what they sound like. You have a whole, you're in a town full of doomsday preppers essentially, which is partially how this cult takes foothold, is that there are all these damn doomsday preppers. So you find prepper stashes, which are like these underground bunkers and stuff. So you talk to people who have some idea of where a prepper stash is, but they oftentimes have a story to tell you. So there's like, man, thanks for saving me. Those guys were really going to put it to me like they did to my wife and our cat. Also, I heard about this, and it's like another 2 minutes of like them explaining to you who these people were and where their stash is. That's hyperbole, but it's a little bit of that.
I've heard that's what they give you instead of towers, basically, because that's what fills out your map and kind of organically unfolds the structure of some of the missions or whatnot.
Yeah, what's that? So they don't have the towers in that sense. There are a few things that definitely do that, where now the prepper stashes show up, but they're not. I don't think it's like the towers. I don't consider it that way. Honestly, I think what they did in place of the towers is it feels like there's way more outposts, and the outposts were always kind of like supposed to be the harder portions of each little region, where there would be like a base of operations, and you'd have between 10 and 30 guys, and then there's alarms, and it's where and
once you take over that, it'll open up the area and kind of tell you where more stuff is.
But this doesn't do it like it's not blocked off that way. It's seriously just kind of fog of war-y, and it's not even really fog of war. It's when you look at the map, it's just darker. It's like it's gray, but any of the icons that should be there, like if a prepper stash pops up in an area you haven't discovered, you can see it. You can mark yourself to it. It just means you haven't crossed that terrain, and so the map opens up pretty easily, as opposed to other Far Cry games where it was go to a tower to open up an entire section. This has a pretty wide breadth where you're finding things, and it does illuminate a little bit more in a circular pattern. But as you're just traversing, you're opening up the map pretty quickly.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I do think this is kind of funny. So they do mention at the very beginning of the game, one of the first missions are go up to the top of this tower. I need you to do this thing. And then he says something like, but don't worry, this is the only time you're going to need to do it. We won't have you go up to any more towers again.
Ha ha.
Yeah. So they don't have the towers that you have to climb, but they do have in place of them. I think I put them in place anyway. These silos. They're just like grain silos that you blow up. There's only like a handful of them, but for whatever reason, it seems like whenever those would get discovered, like an entire section would be opened up. I don't know how that's going to work in the other sections since the grain silos don't seem to be there, but it's fine. It's cool. The game plays great. Like the gunfire, the action, all of it's fantastic.
It should be, honestly, by now too. Like,
yeah.
If that part wasn't refined, I would question what the heck this thing exists for.
It is really solid. It's really solid. I think the unlock system is actually pretty good. It does. It promotes you doing side things without forcing you to do side missions. So it's stuff that you can very easily kind of do as you're playing. But if you take just a few minutes to kind of pop through some of these, it's not a big deal. And they did it in a smart way where they clearly recognize doing this one time is hard. So let's not make you do it 20 times to fill out the challenge. Do it 2. So they were smart about the challenges, and the challenges also smartly don't pile up. So you don't go like, it's not do this twice and then you get X amount of skill points. Do it now 5 times, you get this many more. It's just do it this amount of times, and then you're done with it. You've moved on. you don't have to worry about it, which is it's really nice. It's like it's there's no pressure there, but it's still really fun to go flip through my perks, see which perks I want, hit my challenges, and see, okay, these are the ones I have left, and that's cool. The other thing you could do to fill out the perks, which I really like, is you can also get the perk points through playing Far Cry Arcade. And I didn't know anything about this before.
It sounds nuts.
It's just it's just maps. It's just people made maps that you can go through point A to point B. You have different objectives, and I've only played
the creator itself. Like, it brings in elements from, what is it, like Watch Dogs, Assassin's Creed,
pretty
Far
much
Cry, past Far Cry games. Like,
yep.
Sounds awesome.
It's great. I did one of the first ones that UB put out, and it was totally unique. Like, did not look anything like the Far Cry world that I was in, because it was like this underground, and like there was like this. It almost looked like the earthquake part of Universal Studios, and then the above ground was like all cityscape and stuff, and it was none of what you see in that game. Like, totally different assets and everything. And it was cool. And I cruised right through it. I mean, I didn't cruise through it. It took me a few minutes, but it was fun, and it was free. And it was.
So when you get into one of those things, like, are the objectives defined, or are you just creating maps for multiplayer games or something? Or
as far as I think you do either.
Okay, all
honestly.
of the above. Yeah, because I was looking at stuff that people have already recreated with that editor, and there's maps from Dust 2, PUBG, Nuketown from Call of Duty.
Yeah, I was gonna say Call of Duty.
The Baker House from Resident Evil 7.
No,
that seems cool.
And so I like, the one I did was a single player mission, just go point A to point B.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a variety of stuff, and the one of the kind of cool things about the way they've implemented this too was you don't have to quit the main game to get into it. You can actually just fast travel to, like, every major spot has an actual arcade machine that you can walk up to, and it will just transport you right into it.
Okay.
Very cool.
That's pretty good.
It's pretty cool. Far Cry 5 is good so far. I probably won't bring this up again until I finish it, assuming I do. I'm going to push through it. But I like it. It's good. This is, if you enjoyed Far Cry games and have been away from them for a while, come back for this one, because it's super solid. It's the only Far Cry game so far that I can automatically tell you is better than this is the one that's automatically better than all of them, and that's Blood Dragon, because it's the best.
Oh, which those assets are, I think, in arcade as well.
Honestly,
if I remember.
Blood Dragon is, if they should just do more of that.
They should. Far Cry 5 should be like Far Cry 5. Like, it should be Blood Dragon : Far Cry 5 :
The Return of the Blood Dragon.
Don't work. Yeah, something like
that. So that's Far Cry 5.
It'll be interesting to see, I think, how that game ends. I've heard from pretty much all avenues that it's what could have been cool about it, the story stuff you were talking about, and the relevancy and all that.
There is no chance this game ends in the way it should. I know that.
Which, it's funny to hear. I mean, yeah, be disappointed about that, and that was certainly something in hearing about all the marketing leading up to this. I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. Like, there's a grand opportunity here.
Yes.
I wish I was more surprised to see it not taken advantage of, I guess, because that's Far Cry. I mean, Far Cry, on the one hand, has at best has done stuff that has been pretty much this. Like, it's never gone over that hump. So in a way, this is in keeping with all the past Far Cry 100%. Games. Like, they're always going to take it to that edge and not say anything or make the joke or whatever. That's the game Far Cry has been. So in a way, yeah, but doesn't make it hurt any less, I guess.
No, it is kind of there's a bittersweetness to it, knowing that the game is not going to end satisfactorily, and it's not because of this comes not. I actually have not read any reviews about this. Like, everything you've said about what you've read, I did not know about. I have nothing.
Gotcha.
Like, I kept my head out of it because
you have objectively agreed with most people, it seems.
Yeah, it sounds like it. But like, I could see from the pretty much the introduction, how the game starts, which by all accounts is actually a pretty cool introduction. You could just see that this is not going to end satisfactorily, and because it is a Far Cry game, and it does. They all run into those same things where you You actually, this is great. This will be my capper for Far Cry 5. I'm gonna promote somebody else's work. Fantastic.
Cool.
Jim Sterling just did a great video on
Jimquisition Sterling.
Yes.
Go ahead.
He just did a great video he called it something like the Ubification of games, and he talks pretty in depth about Ubisoft games and what a Ubisoft game is, and how all of the Ubisoft games are ostensibly the same games over and over and over again with minor iterations
a while ago?
here and there. I don't know. It's the first time I saw it was today because he talks about Far Cry 5.
Okay. All right. Okay.
And he goes into why Far Cry 5 is good and why it's also going to be shelved with the rest of the Far Cry games and why. And a lot of that does come from the samification of all of those games. They do, like, it comes from, you can see it. Like, Far Cry games are like certain musicians. When you see it, there is no question that's a Far Cry game. When you see the certain animation of a dude getting in your face and turning his head and moving, it's a Far Cry game because they all do that. Yeah. And for better or worse, this does the same thing. It does it well, but is it better than any other Far Cry game? I mean, other than Blood Dragon, yeah. But if you've played the other Far Cry games, if you've mainlined those and that like you're just done with it, this isn't going to change your mind.
Right.
But if you've been out for a while, like I said, it's a good pickup. So other games I played. You and I played these the next two games. We played A Way Out. We started that.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I think we're about halfway through it, and
I would say so.
We're gonna have our version of a Let's Play coming out with that in the next couple weeks. Just got to finish the game up and get that working. Recording
every spare second of it.
All of it.
For your viewing enjoyment.
I'm Leo. I'm a Joker. I'm charismatic.
That's funny for no reason anybody knows except us at this moment. The video will come out. You'll see. Yeah. So this I think is a greater discussion than just me, obviously, because we're playing it together. This is a game that I now understand when Joseph Fares said this is a game that he really truly meant for people to sit down on a couch together, like this, that this is meant as it's a co-op game. It 100% is in every respect, and it's a really kind of fun co-op experience so far because it's not a run and gun game. Which is what I thought it was kind of going to be with a little bit of the puzzle solving stuff. This is far more of a story-driven, character-driven story where we're doing some of the actions, but a lot of it is QuickTime stuff. It's simple button presses. And we had the one moment so far where we've gone through, there was like a car chase, and that was all, for me anyways, it was free move with the gun and shooting and everything. So I assume the driving was free flowing as well, staying on the road and everything Yeah, no, you're driving down a path, but yeah, I was in control.
Right.
I wasn't on rails or anything.
Right. So I think that's, so far it seems like that's as far quote unquote free as we're going to get with it. And I love it.
Did you play Brothers?
No.
Yeah. So this is
it just like that?
It's an evolution of that. You can tell it's made by the same people. There's just differences because it's telling a very different story.
Sure.
And I think some of what we're seeing is with that. But yeah, it's totally the same type of thing. Like there was a moment, maybe one of my favorites so far, where we opted to tie up a couple because we needed to change from our prison clothes. And after changing, you can go through the house and just do a bunch of stuff. Like start a fire, watch TV.
You can't burn the house down, start a fire in a fireplace.
Not that we know of.
Yes, true. Okay,
didn't
fair.
Try super hard because I was more concentrated on playing the banjo and the piano.
Yeah, and then we played together.
Yeah, and then it something clicked off after we tried enough to play it together, and it's just a simple, rhythm mini game type thing. But it did click, and then it kind of opened up a new cutscene, and then we did kind of play something together, and there were some lines to it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That stuff is totally from Brothers. Like, Brothers was the one that had the achievement for, like, sitting on all the benches in the game, because you sit on the benches and you basically just take it in, and you take a second, to...
Appreciate.
Yes. So those, and I think those moments are maybe that developers and certainly this game's, speaking of A Way Out now, strength.
Definitely.
Like, it comes off really cool. Like the direction and even just some of the camera work. Like there's our moments where it slows down, and that's something you'll definitely have to watch the video for. But
yeah, and one of the things that we mention in the videos, I probably multiple times, is how great the look of it is and how all of it really meshes, where the characters, the models for the characters fit in the world. The world doesn't look like significantly better than the characters don't look significantly better than the world, and they all have these colors that kind of, it just all meshes really well. It's got this weird like gritty overtone, and like you mentioned like that maybe there's a filter over it so that it all kind of meshes or something.
It's almost painterly at the same time.
It looks great. Yeah,
it's really cool how they've done it, because it does look almost like a painting, but that's hard to do in a video game because you get up close and then you see stuff that you can see where the effect is applied, or it looks better from far away. You get up too close and it ruins it.
The aliases have not been antied.
Or yes, but this one, there are times where it's doing a cutscene and it'll come back and kind of pan by a bush that's pretty up close, and it still looks good because it looks like it fits in that world. And again, I don't know if this is a sheen or a filter or what, but it's just done really well. It looks really cool.
It's good. So we're looking forward to finishing that out. We'll actually probably have it finished out by next week, and then we should be able to talk a little more about it, and hopefully the videos.
Yeah, I think then we can probably get into maybe more aspects of the story and the performances and stuff like that, which might make our conversation a bit more varied. And
it might. I'm a joker though, so we don't know how that's going to go down.
You are a joker.
And the last game I played, you and I played together again, and I just want to point out, it's hard to talk about this game when you're so good at it, because it's just like you don't want to brag. What?
Yeah, I feel like the last time we talked about it, you did not mention being super good at this game.
Oh yeah, well last time, I mean, that was just
a long time ago.
We played PUBG on the Xbox. We played some duos, and you're welcome. I went ahead and just got you a chicken dinner. Game
In fact,
2.
last time we talked about this might have been when PUBG killed video games for you for 2 or 3
I was so mad about
5 months or something.
So I fully admit that this was kind of this whole game, this whole win that we got out of this was so funny to me, because it's like it almost
really
seems super antithetical to every complaint I have about the game. My major complaint about the game, and it doesn't change after this win, which I think is the funny thing again, is I have a really hard time seeing people in the game. I'm not talking about people like that are meant to be hard to see, where they're crawling around. Fine, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people that are just like standing still, like in front of me. I can't see them. My eyes are closed. I don't know. The visuals for that game are just so crappy to me. They're just so shoddy, and the game is so janky that seeing people means...
We're playing on Xbox here, so...
This goes for PC. It's no different.
Well, I would imagine it's a little better on PC, but yes.
Imagine all you want. You are a free person. I'm not going to take that away from you. All I'm going to say is that it's really hard to see people for me in this game in general. I play the game on the TV, like when I'm playing it on Xbox too, I've had to vary where I'm sitting. Like I have to sit way closer, because otherwise I miss things.
Sure.
And this was a case where we jumped out, we landed, and there were people.
Is this the one where we screwed up the marker too? Because you're like I'm used to playing by myself, so I don't really even think about it. But you were like, place a marker where we want to go, make it easy so we can both go there. Wasn't this the game where I finally placed a marker to help us go to the same spot, and we ended up at like 2 different farms?
Yeah,
still?
yeah. I was on the opposite side of you. Luckily, like there weren't a ton of people around us. I know there was like one dude behind me. I landed, and then I saw the dude run into the house, and I'm like, I'm not gonna go and deal with that, because I have no guns. He's gonna have guns, but there happened to be a Jeep right there. So I drive the Jeep to you, pick you up.
Yeah.
We gather up our guns. We move to the next house. We start getting guns, and that's when it's like, okay, popcorn everywhere, hearing guns. So we start listening for gunfire, driving around. We're going place to place, and we finally get to a point where where the
And
circles
pretty carefully too. Like this is
we're looking and we're not
a long drawn out thing. We're being very careful. We hear gunfire. We just kind of look around.
We're looking for it. We're not going to go and suddenly jump out into anything. We're trying to play smart. We're not
very boring by all accounts is what I'm trying to say here.
Except like we weren't. And the thing is, it's not that we were not trying to. We weren't trying to avoid fighting. We were trying to avoid walking into a fight that we can't win.
Sure. I didn't like my guns that I got.
And we did have, like, for the most part, we did not get great stuff. We didn't get.
I finally got an M16, which
but
is one
that
of my
wasn't
favorites,
until almost towards the end. We didn't have health kits towards the end. We didn't have, or we didn't get our
bandages.
We didn't get body armor.
You got a first aid kit. I had like 5 bandages,
and we didn't get body armor till the end either. We were like towards the end in that last little house before we had to move forward. So we finally get to the point where the circle is going to close in, and it's going to close in on a wide open area. So
which it does.
Which it does. It's like so we end up in a little hut that's at the edge of the circle, which is on the edge of a tree line. On the other side of us is just pure desert into a couple of buildings, and then there is desert / kind of grassland directly in front of us that's kind of meeting all of it, and that's where the circle is going to end. And in the middle of that circle, there's a tiny structure that has no doors, it has no roof, it's a broken down structure, but there's still a structure there.
It's one of those shacks that will just falls apart if you shoot it with a bullet. Can you shoot it with actually, I don't know, but it might need a bomb or something.
Yeah, I think
like
you have
that.
to blow it up.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah. It's not one of the ones where just the door comes off if a thing, like the whole thing will level if it's a shack.
So we're at a point where we're at the edge of the circle. If we're not, we can hear guns being fired right next to us at the tree line, but we can't see them, and we don't want to rush out because we can hear they've got at least one sniper rifle and at least one high-powered gun. Then there were other guys that were just driving around in circles, just driving around. Circles.
There was like 3 cars out there at one point. We hung out in that tiny, not the shack that can be torn down, but at the shack at the edge of the circle. We hung out there for a while, which I don't know. This has got to be a common trick, but I've used it all the time. Where you just get in that shack and then you just third person view all throughout those windows all around it and kind of see what's going on. We did that for maybe 2 circles worth, like as much as we could at least.
It was for a while.
No, was it? Oh, okay, yeah. But there was somebody driving in a smoking Jeep. There was a buggy and another Jeep over there, and
so we start booking it. Circles closing in, and we get to the point where we're at the edge of the circle, and we're both dropped down in the grass, keeping an eye out, looking for people because we saw the one Jeep go flying by. And as we're moving along, here's some gunfire. Okay, we're moving along, quiet. Don't move. And then wait a minute. I look at the counter and I realize there's only 3 people left, which means it's you and me and the other guy.
Which we always get confused. I'm like, does that because the counter? I always forget if it stands for teams or people when I'm in duos because I just don't play duos all that much either. Well,
and I think the same thing in squads too. I'm always thinking it's if the number 3 is there's 3 squads left. It doesn't mean there's a full squad. It just means there's a squad. Some squad hasn't been wiped. Right. So I realize.
But it doesn't mean that is the point.
No, yeah. So, and I realize, oh no. So I move up and Ryan's like, I don't know. He points out, he sees the guy, and I didn't quite see him move right away, but you gave me the direction. So I move up towards the little hut. And I'm using the hut as cover. I move up to check to make sure he's not behind it. And as I'm coming back, I see him move just a tiny bit in the grass, and then he finally pops his head out enough where I'm like, that's not a rock. That doesn't look like any rock in the game. Pull out my gun, and in one smooth motion, like I had my cursor in the exact right spot, I just kind of start walking over, I switch from a shotgun to like an Uzi, and it was set to single bullet fire. 1 bullet. Game over, we win. And both of us, and when it happened, I went, what? Because I thought I died and we lost the game.
Yeah, no, I assumed that the game just, it was either the game became disconnected or somehow he killed both of us instantly, right? Those are the only 2 outcomes. I'm like, oh no, how did this happen? We were so close. And then I'm like, no, that's the number 1. No, we won?
We won with a single kill by me. Yeah. And I recorded it, and I fully admit, when I watched this kill back, it seriously looks like I'm aimbotting or something. Like that's a hack.
It's so
because
you pull it out. Number one, I can't watching that clip. I still can't see the guy even as well as you must have been or didn't. I don't know. I certainly couldn't see his head by any means. I had to watch it 3 times before I think I caught the movement that you were talking about. But then, like, yeah, it just looks like you pull out a gun that auto fires like as soon as it becomes equipped, and it's game over. I'm like, how did you even? I don't even know. It doesn't make any sense. But I guess that's how you win.
I fully admit, if I were a hacker, I would probably admit it here. I don't know. I saw the dude.
No. Watch the rest of the game. Did not hack it.
Not even, because if I did, I would have many more wins than just that one. That's not where one use of a hack and I'm done. That's it. Yes. So now I got to go.
So PUBG's done. We did it. We beat the game.
PUBG and duos. We got to go do. We got to get a Fortnite duos win now.
All right. Well, you have like a zillion of those, right? Duos.
I have 2 squad wins. I have no solos and no
great.
duos.
Okay.
No solos. I want a solo win so bad, but I'm so bad. Solo.
Yes.
So long is all I got to say. That's it. I'm done.
You'd think that win would make me be like, all right, I should give solo another try. But no, I haven't really. I mean, you'll find out why in a second. But still.
Tell me why.
Okay, we'll get into it. All right. I have been playing a bit more Puzzle Fighter. That's still the thing I bust out at the end of the night.
Puzzle Fighter?
It's becoming a bit more annoying just because it's the grindy part. You know, that is a microtransaction game, you know. Yeah. So I'm to the part where how much do I like to do this enough without spending money type thing, because I'm not going to spend money. So
don't. So far,
not horrible. It strung me along just long enough to switch my character from Ryu to Chun-Li because she's my level 7 now. I think the game caps out at 15, but online play, I'm kind of hit a wall. I'm at super silver rank or something like that, and I can't gain enough money. I can't win enough times in a row now to keep my XP going up quickly enough to rank up. So I'm kind of over that part at least, you know. I tried to do the missions until I reached the weekly limit to get a epic case, and I totally like fell asleep or dropped the ball during the last 4 hours and screwed myself after 7 days of dinking around with that stupid thing. So
grindy.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't see that happening for much longer, but it's still a good looking game. It would probably be a whole lot better if it didn't have to do microtransactions and they didn't go that route at all, but it is what it is.
Boo on you, Fuzzle Piter.
But no, the thing that took me away from everything else as much as I would let it, and more, actually, honestly, if this is the game that got me to finally
play video games.
Yes. To shirk some work that I probably shouldn't have.
Shirking the working.
Work shirking. Here at 0 hit points. Burnout Paradise Remastered.
Does it feel remastered?
It does. And this is with the 4K update on my 4K monitor with my 4K Xbox, etc.
That's like 8Ks, maybe 16.
It looks fantastic. It looks really, really good. Yeah, you can tell that it's a remaster, I guess. You know, it doesn't look like Forza Horizon or anything. It's not that nuts, but the edges are real crisp, and the art is super cool looking, like that's all been redone. It looks good.
Good.
Along those same lines, you can kind of tell it plays like it's from, 2000 whatever. What's this? 2008?
2008.
7, 6?
I was gonna say something like 8,
9,
4, 5.
It plays like
2.
a previous generation game in that there are just some of, and I don't know if actually it plays like a previous generation game or if it just doesn't play like Forza, because that was kind of been my last experience with.
I'm guessing games. A combo pack here.
It may be. It's number one. It's still a Burnout game. In its favor, this is the good thing. Like, it plays like a Burnout game. Mm-hmm. Burnout is just 10 times more arcadey than anything else out there. So there's a lot less movement that makes sense, I guess, maybe coming from a Forza game. But also it does feel like Burnout Revenge, which was the last Burnout game I really played. So it's all good and bad for all of those reasons. But more good than anything. Like, this thing is fantastic. I love this game so much. It's great.
How's the online with it? Because like the community, like that was a big thing with it.
Yeah, and I did want to get into that as soon as possible. And there were, when I custom gamed, I think like 10 active things going on there. Only 2 or 3 that were about full, because the way the online works is that you want to complete challenges. Challenges depend on how many people are in the game at the time. So there's 2-player challenges, 3-player challenges, 4-player challenges, 5-player, and then the world maxes out at 8 players. So I'm trying to get into the 8-player ones as much as possible before that's probably, I can't find an 8-player game as much or something.
Sure.
And it does what it's supposed to do. Like, it's amazing how much this is stuff you see just in every racing game. Like Forza Horizon 3 cribs from Burnout Paradise essentially in a ton of ways.
Sure.
Right? Like, you are initiating activities, the host is, and then you all get to race to that spot to start it. Some of the things I wish they would change, update this game with, that Forza Horizon has done, is that once you get to that spot to start the challenge, all of the cars need to be in a specific area.
Yeah.
And that area, number one, isn't always easy to find. Like, I was booted for at least 2 games because I just couldn't find. Like, it doesn't tell you what level it's on, so I'm driving around in circles trying to just get to the spot where if I park, it'll check off the thing and be like, okay, you're here with us, and then start the event. Because it won't start the event till we're all there.
Right.
So I got booted several times because I just couldn't find. I was
nice
there.
Nice job wasting everybody's time.
They probably super hated me.
You got reported.
So that sucks. I wish they would change that. Also, I wish they would make it so when you found the area, it would check the box off and then you would be there, period. Like, even if you left again, it would just be like, okay, he made it here, and now if he doesn't participate in the event, that's his loss anyways, right? It takes place here, so whatever. But it doesn't do that. Number one, if you're all sitting in the same spot and Johnny come lately, me, shows up and rams into somebody, it'll execute a takedown and that person will respawn outside of the area. So I can be the last guy coming to that thing to be like, I'm here, let's do it, and then explode like 3 people who now spawn outside and have to get back to the area, which is just fantastic for griefing, I'm sure. But
also Zoidberg.
Yeah, that's gonna be my new war cry when I show up. Also Zoidberg, and then everybody kicked again,
and then you get disconnected. Yeah.
But no, when that works, when that gets together, the games, the challenges, the actual activities are super fun. Way cool. You're amassing takedowns together cooperatively, or you're amassing jumps. It's a lot like I guess that was basically the co-op mode in Forza too. Forza Horizon 3, right?
Yeah.
But it's done really well, and it's done a la Burnout, so I automatically like it better because it just has that feel to it. The drifting is as good as it ever was. Like, it's honestly everything I wanted, and I really am not glad I waited so long, but I guess maybe glad because it plays great either way. It's just really cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm going to be into that thing for a bit.
That's Burnout.
Did you play any of even last generation version of Paradise?
Yeah. I played. Okay. I had that on 360, I think, and
gotcha.
And then I got it when they did the games with gold. I still have it.
I saw that too. Yeah, which who knows? I might still go back to that. Might be worth it doing both.
You want to go back to see? Okay, number one, it won't be, but like if you want to see just the difference, I guess visually, yeah, sure, whatever. Do whatever you want, man.
Fair enough.
I think with the amount of games that you don't play,
it's not going to happen.
2 versions of Burnout Paradise just to compare nothingness, I think
it's extremely not going to happen.
It's extremely a great idea. Let's talk about something more upbeat. Let's go to the news. What's happening in the world?
You might be disappointed.
Will I?
This is a semi-continuation because we did talk about when the Ninja Drake thing happened and how, me not watching a whole lot of streams anyways was at least a little bit impressed with Ninja because he wasn't super abrasive and seemed to be just a nice dude playing some games.
Yeah. Which by all accounts he still is.
May still be.
He just happens to also use words that some people are not supposed to use, and probably should never use.
He might be more racist than I thought, unfortunately, even if it's just a little bit more.
Or yeah, and so here's where we're at.
Unknown at this point. Okay.
We've got, this is like an everyday occurrence at this point where somebody that is a major streamer that plays in pro leagues, that commentates, is coming out that they say something stupid and then they have to do the apology of, well, it's not really me, it's not this. Ninja, good example. He was on a stream and he was rapping along with a song and he drops the N-bomb, which isn't even in the song, and That was the whole thing. And so then the question is, well, okay, contextually, he's not using the word in in an actionable manner. He's not using it as
PewDiePie levels of stupidry here.
Right. This is not like what just happened with CS:GO commentator Sadokist, who reading, you could either listen to what he said where he says, I'm not drunk.
I don't know about that. Yeah.
You can read about where he says, I am drunk. You can read his full-length apology, but where he straight up drops an N-bomb.
He's clearly drunk.
Drops an N-bomb, tells people to kill themselves, blah, blah, blah. He drops off an apology, just like Ninja did. Ninja drops an apology, says, this isn't me, this isn't who I am. I'm sorry for anybody I offended. I was just rapping along, it happens. Sadokist, the CS:GO commentator, this isn't who I am. But to his credit, he did come out and say, don't try to make this something it isn't. I said something I shouldn't have said. It was not the word I should have used, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't change the fact that you get to go along in this group with Ninja. And then we have this other guy with Overwatch, in the Overwatch League, Echo. He's a player for the Philadelphia Fusion because he was on stream, and while he was talking positively, supposedly, about the Korean culture, he then goes ahead and pulls his eyelids back or his eyes so they're slanted, and says, I'm Korean. Look, idiots. Idiots. I have
the
two
new
things
segment from Matt and Ryan. This is it.
I have two things to say about this. Number one, this is not hard. And any of these people that can't go on a stream playing a game, getting drunk without using phrases, without using and without making faces and stuff, if you can't manage that, I'm sorry, dude, you should not be on those screens. That's just how I feel about this. Dude, you said it once, you said how you feel. And they go back to the PewDiePie thing where maybe it's the I was looking for the most offensive thing to say. That's what
good job.
That's the most childhood excuse possible. It was I was drunk and it came out. I would never say that. Dude, look, it may not be you to the nth degree. It may not be you in the loudmouth sense, but that's still you. You still carry that around. You still know using that word is a straight up going to just knock the breath out of somebody. You know that.
It didn't create something new inside of you.
Right.
It just let it out.
You didn't suddenly get drunk and go, oh, you know what? I'm going to use that word. That's been there, and you were like, I'm drunk. That's in my vocab.
Can't keep it in anymore.
I don't know. It's a soapboxy thing. It's real stupid.
And yeah, I mean, I wish I had more to add to this. I'm half exasperated, but also half even since we've kind of rejiggered the podcast over here to tackle more stuff like this, I feel like we've done this 3 times already.
Right. And that's I agree. And I'm going to interrupt you because what this comes down to is,
I'm not saying we shouldn't either.
No.
I'm just, like I said, half exasperated, but also half like go to Spawn on Me. They're the ones I go and listen to when stuff like this happens, because that's what turns you into somebody that doesn't do stuff like this. Not that I'm doing stuff like this. So somehow this isn't the first word that comes into my head when, I get killed in a video game, or even when I'm rapping, when I'm rapping personally, it doesn't happen.
You're sitting there, you've got your gift out, you're sitting there and you're like, you know what I'm not going to call this thing? It's the box. I don't need...
I'm like, man, here's this present. It's not a pheasant.
No,
that's too far for me, even though.
That's fair. But when it comes to, listening to people who might have a little more insight into it and have
all of the insight.
And have solutions that are greater than anything we can come up with.
Maybe you're not racist. You'll never do any of this stuff. It's crazy, but you're just sick of hearing about it. That might be a tiny signifier. Go, find out some more about it. Go get into the nuance, dig into why you might be sick about it. It's not because it's not important. Hopefully you're sick about it because you're sick of just hearing that it exists in the world, not because you're sick of hearing people be sick about it, type thing.
Right. And that was so good and so upbeat. I think we should definitely bring it down a little bit because I think we've been, that was high octane stuff. Let's just go get into the capper.
All right.
and
I'm not 100% positive what it is.
The capper this week is great. It's.
Oh, that's right. I remember. I know what it
matters.
What am I talking?
Okay, this is important stuff here.
It's 10 years coming. It's
10 years for a game to be finally released. That's right. SpyParty is finally being released into early access. SpyParty. 10 years. This is like that Gross Point Blank moment. 10 years.
Thanks, Jeremy Piven. Book Club for Movies every Thursday.
Yeah. So
I just thought it was interesting because I remember SpyParty at my first PAX in whatever that was, 2010, 2011 or whatever it was.
Every year for 10 years, SpyParty has been at PAX. Chris Hecker has had this game, and it has become a ubiquitous part of my PAX experience when I've gone. For as long as I can remember, I could walk right down that booth. Bam. There it is.
Technically, you could play SpyParty as much as you wanted every year at PAX.
You could, but we never did. And now it's finally coming out April 12th. SpyParty to be released, early access on Steam. Go out there, get on it. If you've never heard of this game, it does look like a ton of fun. It's a 1v1 game where one person is a spy at a party and the other person is a sniper across the street. And you have a timer. The sniper has to figure out who the spy is, and the spy has to try and blend in as best as possible. I've heard that the game is best played in the same room.
Huh. Wait. How would that work?
You have two computers and you play it in the same room.
But then the one dude, the sniper, could just see who you are.
Well, if you're playing that way, I mean, that's like now you're doing old school like Madden garbage where you're just cheating.
Well, yeah.
Face your computer the other direction.
Oh.
This is a game that should definitely
be. I think you should just go into two different rooms.
This is a game that should be in VR where you have one person on the computer doing the spy part and the person in VR doing the sniper.
No, it's SpyParty.
Oh, I misunderstood this game. Never mind. That was the capper, and that's the show. Hey, so we're not going to talk about games that are coming out next week because we're not getting any games for next week because there won't be a podcast for next week. But if there were going to be a podcast next week, which there isn't, what games would you try to continue to play to talk about on that podcast or pick up?
When we come back, I'm sure we'll hear about the rest of A Way Out.
Yep.
We can get into a little bit of the weeds with that one.
Yeah.
And more Burnout Remastered. That's kind of just what I want to play. It's on my mind.
I got 20 some days left of Fortnite battle pack to get that thing leveled up. And so I gotta get some more games in there, and man, I'm just dying to get that freaking solo win. Someday it'll happen. More Way Out, like you said, more Far Cry 5. But next week, like I said, no podcast.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised you haven't come a knocking for Sea of Thieves. What's going on there?
Sea of Thieves will happen. There is some things that are taking precedent over Sea of Thieves right now, but it's gonna happen soon.
Right? Okay.
Personal life is not great.
Don't.
At the time being. Yeah. So next week, no show. But if you're looking for more content, make sure to come back on Thursday. We got we'll have Book Club for Movies this week. We're talking about a good old David Cronenberg movie, Scanners. Cover your ears, watch your eyes. It's a head popper. Good stuff. Next week, hit us up.
It is going to be an excellent discussion.
Yeah.
First time I've ever seen it. I've got words.
I'm excited for them.
100th time you've ever seen it.
Yeah.
You've got words.
Podcast at 0HITPOINTS.com. 0HITPOINTS.com. Hit us up at Twitter. Hit up us
All that bing, bing,
on Instagram.
Zingo.
And that's the whole
Kablam.
show.
Biff.